I think in the beginning you're not quite sure what you're getting into. I think then when you're in it, particular extroverted personalities are fine with it, but I wouldn't say Grace or myself are extroverts. I think probably introverts who are living a very extroverted career, put it that way. And so that's probably where we're similar. And also just similar in the sense of we have a passion for acting and then a passion for family life. And that struggle, I think, is the struggle that so many women have, of how do you have both, and how do you be a good mother, a good wife, a good sort of confidant to your partner, and yet also have your own life and have some sort of artistic career if that's what you desire, and also a purpose in life. I mean, I think trying to leave some sort of goodwill in the world, something good that you leave as your legacy, which I think Grace managed to do impeccably.
But you had to sacrifice something. Do you feel you would be ever able to sacrifice some, your art? I mean, it was quite heavy, that kind of sacrifice for duty.
Yeah, I think I could do it. I think I would if I had to do it. Obviously I don't have to do it. I've managed to come up with a balance, but I don't live in Hollywood. I live in Nashville because I needed I suppose the sanctity of that. I needed a place to raise my family where I could drive them to school, where I wasn't going to be followed by paparazzi, where I wasn't going to be scrutinized every minute of the day. So I sort of chose a different path. But, Grace's path was a worldwide fishbowl in a way. She suddenly was... And you have the protocol of royalty, which is a very particular destiny. And I think for a little while she sort of was not quite sure how to achieve that. And then at the end, and particularly you see in the film, she sort of commits herself to that path, to standing by Renier, and he was going to stand by her. And what we say in English is, I've got your back. And I think she really had his back,
There was a lot of press scrutiny at the time. I couldn't imagine the same situation now. I mean, it's so bad now with, technology making celebrities so available to their public.
Well, what was fascinating was I saw footage. She travelled on a boat for, I think it took about 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, with all the journalists. They all travelled together.
Great idea.
And the family, fascinating, right? So they were all there, and they'd meet, and they'd have to. There's something sort of, you wouldn't do that now. You couldn't imagine that happening now. Whereas it was actually kind of amazing. They were all sort of friends in that regard. And I remember seeing a press conference with her, and she sort of knew most of the people that were interviewing her. She knew they were going to be traveling with her, and it was amazing. Very different. I mean, now, no, there'd be so much more. They didn't have the prying lenses, even though there is an interview with her that she did, I think it was for 60 Minutes, which was much later in her life, where she was talking about that, about really wanting to protect her children and not having them be so scrutinized and photographed and judged. And, that was her lioness. You could see it in terms of protecting them when they were little.
They all should be. I think children should be protected from, public life until it's their choice not to.
Yeah, yeah.
You have so many great memories of Cannes. I've seen you here so many times. Which one resonates the most for you? Is it a movie? Is it a particular film? Is it a particular situation? A particular company? Usually.
My gosh, they've all been so different. I remember dancing on the red carpet with Baz for Moulin Rouge. I remember. This really controversial press conference with Lars von Trier. I remember Paperboy and people shocked. I remember To Die For, and suddenly it was like a discovery, and I was terrified to come because I thought everyone was going to hate the movie, and they ended up really embracing it. So many different experiences. And then last year being on the jury was probably the highlight for me, just because of the company that I was in terms of the jury members, and the head of the jury being Steven Spielberg. And just, I think the idea of celebrating cinema and watching movies all day, every day for 2 weeks, I mean, that is just That's heaven for me.
Exactly. Cherry on top.
And then discussing them like we're in film school with some of the greatest professors. I was just like, oh.
Awesome.
But once you've been on the jury, you can't do it again.
Well,
So,
who knows? They might make an exception for you. What are you going to wear before they wrap me up tomorrow?
well, hopefully a princess dress. I've chosen something that sort of embraces that very, you know, larger than life. And then hopefully I'll just have some fun. You know, I'm looking forward to the party, and I'm looking forward to just enjoying. I think at this stage of my life, a lot of the moments are about breathing them in and having them so that I'll remember them when I'm older.